This is Switched On.
Hello and welcome back to the Switched On podcast. This is your host, Akshay Koti Bhaskar, and for those of you who are new, this podcast is dedicated to those who find themselves struggling with the ominous task of choosing a career. Regardless of whether you're one of those people or not, and if you would like to ease the process of figuring out what career is truly right for you, or simply gain a more knowledgeable and informed perspective, look no further. Every session will present a different job from a different sector, and explore exactly what each job entails, as well as the required interests to work in the field. Today we have a very special guest coming from Taurani Holdings Ltd, which is a major corporation based in Dubai, with work stemming in industrial machinery manufacturing. From a mediocre structural steel product trading company in 1976, Taurani Holdings Ltd has emerged as a diverse business conglomerate, which operates on 4 continents with more than 3,000 employees worldwide. Mr. Lalit Taurani is a managing director of the company, meaning that he's a senior level executive in a company who's responsible for the overall operations, strategy, and performance of the company. Having been educated at the University of Notre Dame, where he attained his MBA in finance, he has spearheaded many complex ventures, and furthermore, the group has broadened its business spectrum globally due to his management skills as an MD. Welcome, Mr. Taurani, and thank you very much for being here today on this podcast. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Akshay.
Sure. Firstly, Mr. Taurani, I think the listeners are probably most curious as to why you do what you do. How did you initially become interested in this field of profession?
So, Akshay, my father came to Dubai in 63, right, 1963. He started his business in 1977, right? And the conversation, on the every day in the house, on the dining table was always about business, what was happening in business, who he was meeting, what he was doing. So I was sort of born with it, and I grew up with it. So it just came naturally to us, and my dad exposed us to it from a very early age. So yeah, it wasn't so much of a choice. It's just something we grew up with.
You said that it wasn't much of a choice. Would you have preferred to be in a different field?
No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have wanted to be anything else. I've had a super time, doing what I do. I joined the business straight out of college in '96. I've been doing it for now, 27 years. I've grown with the business. So yeah, it's been a good ride.
Good to hear that you've enjoyed it. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, such as your interests, skills, and what do you like to do outside of work?
So yeah, I like playing sports. Like playing a lot of sports. I play a lot of squash, golf occasionally, some cricket. I also do. I also like to do a lot of investments. I look after the family office. So it's something that I, started looking at it when I was at university. I did a course in applied investments, and that really, took my interest. So although it's part of my responsibilities, I do really enjoy it. I look at it as a hobby.
It's good to enjoy what you do.
I think it is essential that you enjoy what you do, and it's not that you'll enjoy it every day. Days it can be up and down. Some days you probably won't enjoy it if things are not going your way, or if the results are not what you expected, right, when you started out. But over the long run, it should be enjoyable. It's something that you should look forward to when you start your day and you wake up in the morning. Yeah. So for us, for me, it's not a job, or it's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's a responsibility that I have accepted. Yeah.
Okay. Can you provide a brief overview of the role you play within the organization? And what are the main responsibilities and tasks you handle on a daily basis?
So at the moment, I'm a joint managing director with my brother Anil. So we look after the interests of the group. I look after some of the companies in the group, and my brother does the same. We don't have any day-to-day responsibilities anymore. We've stepped back a bit. We have CEOs in all our companies, and so we've taken more of a strategic role in our businesses at the group level, and we have a board at the group level also to help us with some of the functionalities like accounting or technology or banking. So we don't have day-to-day responsibility, but we have, of course, strategic responsibility.
Okay. But when you first started out, though, did you have many day-to-day responsibilities?
Yeah, of course. So when I started in '96, I had day-to-day responsibilities. Fortunately, I was given the opportunity to grow a business from scratch. Although the business was set up, I was given the opportunity to grow it from scratch and literally from zero. So yeah, for the first 25 years, I did that. And then in the last couple of years, we've kind of stepped back and we've sort of tried to hire professionals to run the business. With myself and my brother taking a more strategic role.
Okay. Could you share any specific projects or assignments you've worked on recently that highlight the nature of your job?
So one of the manufacturing facilities that I look after was located in Dubai, Nal Coast. And about 5 years ago, we decided to move to Abu Dhabi for various reasons. And that's a project that was very close to me. And we did it successfully with the help of my team. So yeah, it's come out exactly how we intended it to.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges that you face in your role, and how do you usually overcome them?
So one of the biggest challenges could be forming the right team. Having the right members in a team is critical. Make sure that all the various functions, all the things are done on time and are done in the correct way. At the same time, the macro factors, the external factors have to support you. Sometimes you could have the best plan and the best team members, and the market might not support you. And of course, you could have the best market, and the wrong management team could make a mess of it. So you need things. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that you need a bit of luck. You could have the right plan and the team, but the marketplace has to also be on your side.
Do you have any tips for making these excellent teams, though?
So again, it's with time you learn to hire the right people. It helps to have the right consultants. There are consultants now for virtually everything, and they can sort of help you navigate, and find you the right talent, for the right job or the right position. And for key critical tasks or positions, it is advisable to go with the proper consultant.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that you find yourself stepping back a lot more. So how do you strike a balance between your personal life and career? And do you have any advice for maintaining this balance?
So that's a big question, right? How do you maintain life? Because I have a family, I've got 3 kids. And at times it becomes difficult because once you get engrossed in your work, or if things are not going as per plan, then you try to compromise one for the other, right? It's very easy to balance when everything is going as per expectations, right? But what happens when things don't go as per your expectations? And so then it can become a challenge at times, but that is precisely the challenge, right? To balance your work and life, and and your family life, and it's not easy. It is a challenge. So it requires some work, but it's necessary because what happens is as time goes by, you could succeed in business, right? But if you're not able to share that success with your family, then that becomes a source of dissatisfaction or a source of unhappiness, which can also affect your work life then. So it's very, very critical to sort of maintain that balance.
Are there any particular aspects of your job or industry that you find especially rewarding or fulfilling?
Well, monetary success is rewarding, right?
Of course.
It is something that, it is. So,
Do you find that experience often?
See, it's a fact. Whatever, one might say, but, financial success, makes a big difference in terms of your lifestyle or how, you meet your expectations and the expectations of your family, Beyond that, of course, any kind of success, anything that you plan for. And mind you, these plans take time to get through, right? These are not, sometimes they can take years. Of course, there's a great deal of satisfaction, when they work out, Success can also be, success is a good thing. It helps your confidence, right? So that matters a lot, when it comes to taking, key decisions at the right time, and that matters a lot in the real world, because if you don't take certain decisions at the right time, then you could miss the business cycle, you could miss the time, and then you got to wait. You got to have the patience to wait for the next cycle, which is not always easy.
How much would you say the success that you've had has fed into and created the confidence that you now have?
Well, it is a big deal, right? It matters. All said and done, if you plan for something and if you work hard at it, and if it actually happens, it gives you a lot of confidence and it gives you a lot of, so it does give you a lot of confidence. At the same time, if it doesn't work out, then one has to learn, from mistakes, and take time and see what's happened. So it is important, and at the end of the day, for survival, you have to succeed at something, so at a very basic level.
Can you describe any common misconceptions or myths about your job or industry that students may have, and perhaps debunk any?
So you see, entrepreneurship, right? So as I'm an entrepreneur and I'm part of the entrepreneurial family, entrepreneurship can be very, very rewarding, but the misconception is that entrepreneurs like to take risks. Well, in fact, it's the opposite, entrepreneurs will try to do everything to mitigate risk,
Sure,
So,
but would you not say that it's sometimes necessary to take risks?
It is necessary to risk. Without risk, there is no return, right? That's the principle. But one shouldn't be taking a risk where
It's not calculated.
So not only calculated, but the kind of risk one should take is that one shouldn't be out of the game, so to speak. So you take small risks. So the beauty of entrepreneurship is a small step can give you a very large return if it goes well. So the idea is even if it doesn't work out, you move on to the next thing. So at least you stay in the game. To take a very big call or to take a very big risk in the hope of a return, which might or might not work out, right? See, I mean, majority of businesses don't make it, right? It's a very simple concept, but majority of businesses actually don't make it for a ton of reasons, right? Because that's the nature of capitalism. So it's essential that you take calculated, smart bets where you give yourself a second chance or a third chance even, because it might not work out on the first bet. So that's a very big misconception that entrepreneurs are these cowboys, and they go out and they take risks and they make it big. But the fact is that they start quite small, and they take very small bets because of course they don't know whether it's going to work out or not, and that's the smart way to do it.
So I suppose it's the exact opposite of high risk, high reward.
It's actually exactly it's the exact opposite. An entrepreneur will take everything to minimize risk. Yes, you have to take risk, but you minimize it so that so that the probability of your return is higher, much higher.
So you would advise safety then?
See, yes, I'm saying that make sure that you don't get yourself into a position where you're out of the game, so to speak. So let's say let's say you have an idea and you make a business plan, you start out. If it doesn't work out, you should still be able to do some start again, so to speak. So those so that option should always be at the back of your. See, everybody looks at the upside and not so much at the downside. So one should be mindful of also the downside. If the downside is not significant, and because nobody knows the upside, right? Upside could be anything. So that's the key. The key is to look at the downside, not just the upside.
Understood. For students wishing to apply for a job in your industry, what would you recommend is the degree they should aspire to attain? And what would you like to say to students who are considering a career path similar to yours?
I would say start at the bottom, and learn the job, from the very bottom, from the grassroots, and then work yourself up, and if you show a lot of initiative and with the right kind of focus, time is of course on your side, right? In this case, you could, the opportunities are limitless.
Got it. With the increasing emphasis on sustainability and social responsibility, how is the industry adapting, and what impact does it have on career choices and opportunities?
So you see, sustainability is going to hit all industries, and as a group, we are already on that path. We have a carbon scorecard. Yeah, we've hired a consultant who's calculated our carbon footprint across the group, and now we have to mitigate it, over time. We need to have a plan to mitigate it. So we are in the steel industry. Steel is one of the highest polluters or producers of carbon. And to mitigate that, we got to do something opposite, right? So in our factories, we are having solar panels. We are generating power through solar, and so a lot of other, it also depends on from where we procure our steel. So we make downstream products in steel, right? So, but we buy steel from, let's say, Tata Steel, right? So it also matters how Tata Steel produces steel and what is their plan.
And so everything's linked.
Yes. So it's the entire chain, but it touches everyone. It touches every industry, and every industry has to look at it, adapt. Some of our customers have already, started looking at our processes and at our carbon footprint, and they came to audit us. So it's not just the sustainability. So it's ESG, right? It's environmental, social, and governance, right? So environment is one factor. The other factor is social. How do we look after our employees? How do we look after our workers? Do they have proper working conditions? Do they have proper insurance? Are they happy, satisfied working in their workplace, And then governance, right? Governance is, are we having the right processes in place? Does everyone have a voice? Is there, do we have the right balance between male and females in our industry? In our industry, there are not a lot of females, I can tell you. You walk into a room, you'll be lucky if you find one. You'll be very lucky if you find two out of a room of men. So diversity is also a big factor in our industry. So these are things that one has to work on. But ESG is something that is here already. It's not something in the future.
Yeah. Is the adversity decreasing nowadays in your company, or is it still?
It is improving. It is a challenge in our industry because you select the best talent which is out there, right? You can't look at diversity just for the sake of it. But yes, if the talent is there and if the opportunities are there, if the people are available, if there are more females interested in steel, for sure, they will be part of our organization.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Do you have any personal advice as to what skills or qualifications are necessary to succeed in your position?
So I think one of the big things that one needs is temperament, because not everything goes according to plan, and steel is a very cyclical industry, so you've got to catch the cycle. You can never time it perfectly, no one can. But with experience, one learns to operate. So temperament plays a big role, not only in the steel industry, which is quite cyclical, but also when it comes to any kind of investment, or for that matter, even for a private personal life, So things sometimes take more time to sort of get realized. So whatever plans or goals you have, the timeline can change. And things come out of left field. For example, the pandemic, right? It just came out of nowhere. Of course, no one expected it. But then one has to deal with it, and then change. Try to improvise. Your plans, whatever they were at the time. So temperament is key. So that your disappointments and your sort of let's say enthusiasm is sort of more measured, so to speak.
How were you able to handle the COVID crisis, other than being able to handle your temperament?
Well, COVID crisis, as I said, you got to adjust your plans. You just have to adapt. Working from home, adapt to working from the home, adapt to adjusting how you sanitize your workplace, how your people are taking care of themselves, how you're taking care of your people at the workplace, and just adapting. You just have to adapt.
Right. And in your experience, how crucial is networking within the industry? And what strategies can individuals employ to build meaningful connections that enhance their career prospects?
So networking is, I was not a big fan of networking, to be honest. But with time, with time, I've realized it's absolutely critical, because all the knowledge or the information one has, or the intelligence one has to process that information, it's a very tiny amount compared to what other people are doing, right, at the same time, and sometimes we don't have all the answers. So sometimes the best strategy is just to follow or talk to somebody who has been successful doing, let's say, things very similar to what you've been looking at. So cloning, right? Cloning is, or say copying, right? Some people don't like to clone or copy or take ideas from others. It could be your competitors, could be your peers, right? But actually it could be a very useful strategy. And this can only come from networking. And when I say networking, you can network with your peers. in your age group or even above or below your age group, right? Just to get a full view of what's happening. So I think networking is critical. People don't give it a lot of weightage, or it's difficult to give it weightage as to how much weightage should one give to networking. But I think the right kind of networking is essential, I would say.
Speaking as someone who didn't used to like networking, how were you able to improve your skills and reach the stage where you are now?
So you see, some people are extroverts, right? Networking comes easy to. I'm an introvert, right? So it's not easy for me, but with over time working in business and talking to my colleagues and dealing with our supply chain and with the various companies we deal with in our business, our day-to-day life, and also in my family life, and meeting friends and from the city and from outside our city. It became very, very, it becomes very obvious, it became very obvious to me. And quite frankly, it took me a long time to recognize the fact that it actually, it's something that it's essential. It's quite essential, I would say. And it's difficult, as I said, it's difficult for someone like me who's an introvert. But for an extrovert, it becomes automatically, right? But the key is, again, I would just add something. Right? There's a caveat to it, is that you should make sure that your networking group is adding value to you, right? And that also, you can make out, right? When you meet certain people.
It has to be the right group.
Yes, it has to be the right group, because again, you can't meet everyone, you can't network with everyone, but it has to be efficient at the same time. And also this group has to add value to you, And if you feel that, some individuals or some groups are not adding value, but, then one should really stick to, or rather filter out, those people, I would say. Because networking, yes, is important, but it takes up X amount of time. And, one needs time for the other stuff also.
In addition to that, do you recommend your field of work to students? And in the future, do you think it is a market that will grow or decline?
See, market will grow, right? Because steel is an essential commodity, and as GDP, grows for every country around the world, the consumption of steel will grow. Yes, it's not a very exciting or very high-tech industry like let's say the latest chips that Nvidia is making, right? There's not a huge amount of innovation, but at the same time it can be rewarding, because not a lot of people are probably looking at it, everything is demand and supply, and I'm sure in the tech sector there's so much demand, and then there's only so much supply. In terms of, let's say, the number of jobs or the number of opportunities. Whereas in the steel industry, it's a old, dead, boring, cyclical industry, right? Which might not be quite that interesting, but it can be rewarding. It could be rewarding.
Sure. Moving from just the steel industry, how is the entrepreneurial world, and how is that growing?
Yeah, of course. Entrepreneurship will never end, right? There'll always be a new idea or a new way of doing things. And that goes for any industry, because changes. The nature of capitalism is that it has to self-destruct, right? A company that does extremely well will attract competition, right? And this competition will figure out a way to do things in a better way. Could be low cost, which will be much more cost efficient, than what is being done at present. So that's the nature of capitalism, and that goes for all industry.
And therefore, do you recommend your field of work?
I would highly recommend it, because entrepreneurship can be, as I said, very rewarding. With a very small amount of capital, you can generate a lot of return. I mean, just to give an example, right? Microsoft, right, Bill Gates started Microsoft, I think, with $3,000, right? something ridiculously small, right? And we all know, where it is today. So, but of course, Bill Gates, by the age of 17, was a master programmer. He knew exactly where he was, what he was doing. And mind you, the word is that he didn't even create the Windows software, right? He copied it from Apple. So this goes back to my example of cloning, but he was successful in terms of, implementing the plan, right? The business plan that he had, And so he started with a ridiculously small amount of capital, right? And today, of course, they make billions of dollars per year. So entrepreneurship, of course, can be highly rewarding when the plan works out, when you're successful. So I would highly recommend it. Yes. But as I said, it should be a plan B to what you're doing, right? So you start somewhere, you acquire some skills, some experience. And then, you take a call, right? So for example, my father started his business, right? He was already working at a bank at a very high senior position. So he met a friend at a bar one night and he said, we should start the steel business. I heard it's good. So he started the next day. So he used to work half a day in the bank and then in the evening he used to go to the business, So it was like a side bet for him. He didn't know it was going to work out or not, He still had his day job.
I mean, no one ever does though, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you see, exactly. So entrepreneurship, yeah. So he in a way, he took a risk, but not a huge risk, right? Because he didn't know whether it was going to work out or not. But then he realized after a few months that there was something there. So he resigned, and he focused on it entirely. So it can be very rewarding, but it just has to be done properly and not in a manner where you totally go, it can't be a one-way bet. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. And where do you see yourself and the company in 10 years' time?
See, 10 years is a long time. No one can predict in 10 years. In our business, we make a 3-year plan, right? Where we say, okay, this is our top line, and we want to grow every year, And mind you, we've got several businesses in our group, and not, some business. So the beauty is, today we have got a diversified group of businesses. Some grow at double digits, some grow at single digits, some don't grow. Some businesses are having a tough time today. So, but on average, you grow. So the idea is to grow above inflation, right? So that at least you cover your cost and you make some margin and you make some return on your invested capital. So generally, you can make a 3-year plan, let's say. 10 years in today's life is very tough to make. And you can make a plan, but most probably won't turn out the way you plan.
Yeah, because there's so many variables involved.
There's so many things.
Okay. And as automation and artificial intelligence continue to influence industries, how do you see these advancements affecting the manufacturing landscape?
So you see, artificial intelligence is about processing data, right? So I can tell you that as a group, we are digitizing all our businesses. So once we finish doing that, which should be the next couple of years, we'll have enough data on the cloud. So to then go after things like artificial intelligence, which will help us analyze our data better, provide us with some kind of a feedback or analysis on actions to take before things happen. Because right now everything is reactive in our business, right? So we are trying to digitize our businesses, get some data out, try to see if there's a correlation, in all our historical data, and see if AI can help us extrapolate that into the future, And it should be possible because of the cyclical nature of our business, We should be able to extrapolate out. Yeah. So it's a reality, managing data is again, I would say, critical, for any business today.
Okay. And lastly, do you think you could share any resources or organizations that students can explore to learn more about your industry?
I can provide you with some research. I think the easiest way to do is follow companies like ArcelorMittal and Tata Steel, they have a lot of stuff out there on their websites and in all the even in the financial reports that they file quarterly, where
I
they talk
suppose the
about the
internet
data.
gives you access to a lot of resources.
Yes. And these days, a lot of the companies are investing, in new technologies to reduce emissions, right? For people like Arsenal and Tata, they are at the right at the forefront of this ESG revolution, right? And they have a big mandate to sort of control their emissions, because controlling carbon is going to be the critical thing, and they're going to be taxed on it. So there's a lot, so they have to look at those things. That would be a good place to start, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Taurani. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Akshay. It was fun. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Well, that's all we have for today's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. A big thank you once again to our guest today for agreeing to be a part of this podcast. And until next time, this is the Switched On Podcast.